pathway for a young person with disability to ACAT different to that of an elderly person?
In terms of inpatient assessments, the pathway is fairly similar. They all come through directly to the aged care assessment team for review of the referral and the assessment, and then takes place from there. In terms of community assessments, it's not as straightforward, and the clients need to go through the My Aged Care Contact Centre, and often they're redirected back through to the disability sector if they're under the age of 65, or directly to the ACAT. The one thing in common with all referrals for younger people with disability is that all options have to be exhausted prior to the referral coming to the aged care assessment team, and that is inclusive of exploring all options within the disability sector. So the notion of exploring all options isn't something new to our team. We are all really motivated to want the best outcome for our clients. In doing that, we've developed a checklist, and we've worked very closely with our social workers across all of our hospital sites to develop a list to guide them on what to explore and what to exhaust prior to making a referral to ACAT. And that may include things like, is there an option for the client to live in the community? Have they got family supports that can help them in the community? Have you considered private services? Are there community groups or non-government agencies that can provide any type of support? As well as, have you looked at going through to the National Disability Insurance Scheme and putting an application in for the client to see what funding they can receive through the disability sector? We are very lucky here in the local health district. Our social workers will exhaust all options and will think creatively and out of the box to try to ensure that they achieve the most suitable and best outcome for the client. The social worker teams across the hospital sites do a really good job of exploring all options and exhausting everything prior to making a referral to the aged care assessment team. So usually when a client does get to ACAT, all the options have been considered, and usually the most appropriate option for this client is an assessment by the aged care assessment team.
Rosie, what role does advocacy play in ACAT teams?
I think advocacy plays a significant role in all ACAT teams. I think we're just that bit more passionate about ensuring that younger people with disability are assessed based on their needs and receive the care that they require in the best possible accommodation setting. There will be times when we will need to go back to the hospital and say to them, look, we don't feel like you've explored all options or you haven't exhausted what's available in the community, and ask them to provide further evidence to support why a client needs to access care in a residential aged care facility. And in some instances where we feel that the client isn't going to be approved or isn't appropriate, we'll have that discussion early so we don't set up expectations.
What happens in reality when a referral for a young person with disability comes into your team?
In reality, the staff come to me. So they'll come to me and they'll seek some guidance and advice. Often, it causes a bit of anxiety because we know that younger people with disability aren't most appropriately placed in residential aged care facilities, that their care needs are better met within the disability sector. And so we want to make sure that we're doing the right thing by the client. We want to make sure that all options have been exhausted and everything's been explored. And then, the reason why it's important that we advocate for these clients is we need to think about, if this was one of our family members, is it right that these younger people with disability go into an aged care facility, and is it the best place for them? So it's important that there's someone there, and I'm happy to advocate for these clients to make sure that their long-term decisions for accommodation are the most appropriate so that their care needs can be met.